We're in week 2 of our Strong and Courageous series, and the whole idea of this series is that we are seeking and going after the strength and the courage to pursue the promises that God has made to us. God's made many wonderful promises to us, all right? He says, I come to give you life and give you it to the full, right? Full, a life full of the gifts of the Holy Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But even on top of that, he promises forgiveness and reconciliation and healing. He promises that he'll be with us every step of the way. Incredible promises and so many more that we've been given by God, and we should be going after those promises. You know what? All those promises have already been secured for us in what Jesus did for us on the cross, right? God promises us these things, and he's already accomplished those things in what Jesus did. Now, the problem for us is that when we look at those promises, we read those promises, and then we look at our own lives and where we are right now, we say, in many ways, my life doesn't match up with it. I'm not living in total joy or in total peace, or I'm not living feeling total forgiveness. And so my life doesn't feel like it matches up with those promises. But God says all those things have been secured in Christ. The brokenness that you feel, the lack of forgiveness that you feel, or the lack of joy that you feel, all of that has been secured in Jesus when he took the brokenness of the whole world upon himself. All right? All those things that are guilting us, or all those things that are oppressive to us, all of that was put on Jesus on the cross. And just like Justin said, he may have said it in the early service, but what we need to do is we need to receive what God has given us. We just need to open up our arms and receive it. And so now, when our lives don't match up with that, and we think, all right, God's promised joy, he's promised peace, and now there's a way to that, right? Like in our marriage, if God's promised us peace in our marriage, we want peace in our marriage, but the way to that is not just one little step, but it's I've got to forgive my wife, right? So there's work to be done to get to peace. There's work to be done to get to joy, and because of our fear of those steps that it takes, we don't live in the promises of God. We don't experience the promises of God. And so the story that we're using to go back and look at this is the Joshua 1:9 and several other places. We're actually going to read it again, where God tells Joshua, the leader of the nation of Israel, he says, be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous, because God is about to lead the nation of Israel into the promised land. God's made promises to Israel that they are going to be this great nation, that they're going to be in this one particular place, this promised land, a land that is beautiful, a land that is flowing with milk and honey. It's a good place to raise your family and to raise crops and to raise herds. It is a good place to be. And he says, I promised it to you. Now, you remember last week we said that Joshua was Moses' right-hand guy. And when they came out of Egypt, when God led the people out of Egypt under the leadership of Moses, Joshua was his right-hand guy. And they got right up to the border of the promised land, and they're about ready to go in and to take the promised land. And they send in some spies. Moses sends in 12 spies to go and scout it out and to see what it's all about. 2 of those were Joshua and Caleb. And when they came back, they said, it is just like God promised. It is good. It is awesome. Let's go and take it. God's on our side. But the other 10, they said, yeah, it's good, but the people there are scary. They're not going to give up without a fight, and if we go in there, they're going to crush us. They are like giants, and we can't do it. See, Joshua and Caleb, they saw the promises of God. They saw the power of God, but those other 10, all they saw was the obstacles. All they saw was the work. All they saw was the danger. And they began to spread that negativity around the rest of the nation. And all the people said, you know what? It'd be better for us if we'd have died in Egypt, or if we died right here in the wilderness. And so God gave them exactly what they wanted. And none of the adults in that generation went into the promised land. For 40 years, they were stuck in the desert, until all of them had died in the desert. And then God takes them right up to the border of the promised land again. And it's Moses is the only adult living, Joshua and Caleb. And Moses himself is not going to cross in. In fact, he's going to give up his leadership before he dies. He's going to pass it on to Joshua before they go into the promised land. That's where we pick up the story today. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 31. Moses is basically, he's giving his farewell address to the people. That's really what Deuteronomy is. Deuteronomy is a weird and funny word, but it just means second law or second instruction. And so it's Moses giving he's basically reviewing everything for the people before they go into the land. In fact, in chapter 30, he says, "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curses." Basically what he's saying is, today I've told you the law, and I'm saying before God and everyone, you've been given the right way to go. All right? He says, "So I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Now choose life so that you and your children may live, and that you may love the Lord your God, listen to his voice, and hold fast to him. For the Lord is your life, and he will give you many years in the land he swore to give your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." So Moses says, here's God's instruction. Here's God's way of life. If you follow this, when you get into the land, it will go well for you. If you don't, it will not go well. Now, we know this in our own lives, right? Things go much better when we give in and we do things God's way rather than go against God's will, right? We know the bad things, we know the bad results, and that's what Moses is saying. Here, God's given you the way to live. Now you do that and it will go well with you, but you don't, it'll be a curse to you. All right? And so then we pick up in chapter 31. "Then Moses went out and he spoke these words to all Israel. I am now 120 years old, and I am no longer able to lead you. The Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan." That's a whole other story entirely, but Moses is not going to lead them in. "The Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy these nations before you, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua also will cross over ahead of you, as the Lord said." Now these people, they followed Moses. Moses has been the voice of God for them. Moses has met with God. He got the 10 Commandments from God. He has been their leader all the way through. Even though they rebelled against him, now for him to say, "I'm not going with you into the promised land," must have created more fear for some of them. But here he says, "The Lord will go before you." He doesn't say, "Now Joshua is going to go." He says, "The Lord will go before you." And I think that's what Moses would say. The Lord had gone before them the whole way. In the pillar of fire and the cloud, God had gone before them every step of the way. And he says, today, God will go before you. God will take you through. He says, and following him will be Joshua. He says in verse 6, still talking to the people, "Be strong and courageous, and do not be afraid or terrified because of them, the people in the land. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." When you're scared, remember, God is always with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. In fact, he goes before you into everything that he's calling you to do. Remember, it's all secured already in Jesus. He has gone before you. He will go before you. In verse 7 it says, "Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel." Now here he's spoken to the people, and now he says, "Now Joshua, come here." And he brings him up in front of the people, and he lays his hands on him, and he says to him, "Be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people into the land that the Lord swore to their ancestors to give them. And you must divide it among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid and do not be discouraged." Now here's Joshua, who's been with Moses the whole time. He's been his right-hand man. He was the one who went into the land and said, "Yeah, we can go and take it." But this has to be a different kind of moment for him, doesn't it? Don't you think? He calls him up before everybody when Moses has just said, "I'm not going in before you, but God will go in before you, and Joshua will go in before you. Joshua will be your leader. Joshua, come here." And he puts his hands on him. He says, "Now Joshua, be strong and courageous, for you're going with this people. You're leading them into the land. You're going with them. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." Well, this is a different kind of moment. Now, he's always had Moses there. And Moses is going to step away. And Moses is pretty soon he's going to pass away. And Joshua is going to be the man. It's different when you're the man. right? It's different when you are the one in charge, right? Rachel and Garrett had a moment the other day where things changed for them, all right? Now, they've been mom and dad for 9 months now, waiting for Ezra to cook and get done, all right? But the other day, things changed, all right? Now, they were having to take care of Rachel, make sure all that stuff she was taken care of and getting what she needed to eat and the vitamins and all that stuff. But all of a sudden, there's another human being that requires 24-hour care. They've got to be fed, they've got to be held, got to be changed, got to be taken care of. All of a sudden, it's different. Now, Garrett was a father before that moment, but he's a father now, all right? All right, it is different. It is different. You know, you who are parents, you know you've experienced that moment where things change now. You held your child in your arms, you go, oh, this is scary. Now, we've been talking about this, we've been praying about it, we've been preparing. We had the nursery ready and everything, and I thought I was all ready for this, and now, and you're just crying, right? Dads and moms alike. I remember when Sam was born, we knew it was going to be a C-section, so we go into the operating room there, and you got to put on that one size fits all, cover all. And you go in there, and they finally, I'm not looking, I don't want to see any of that. And so they bring Sam around there, and they show him to us and to Christy, and I'm sort of overwhelmed, and Christy is just absolutely overwhelmed. She begins to hyperventilate, and it was this incredible moment. We've been waiting and just anticipating, and then bam, things are different. Things are all different in that moment. Joshua had this incredible moment where things were all different. God gives each of us roles to play. Now, your role may be something like Joshua. You may have incredible influence. You may be somebody that God has called to be up in front of people, to lead a bunch of people. But you know what? Maybe not. Maybe your sphere of influence is much smaller. But it doesn't matter, because God has given each of us a role and a part to play, and with that role, with that part to play, comes responsibility. So in this room, you've got dads and moms, you've got husbands and wives, you've got children, you've got students, you've got teachers, you've got coworkers, you've got bosses and employees, you've got friends, you've got church family. Each of those is a role that you play, and each one of them has responsibilities for you to follow through with. Now, all of those are responsibilities that you may want to shy away from, right? People shy away from their responsibility as parents all the time. You've seen it. People shy away from their responsibility as a spouse all the time. People shy away from their responsibility as Christians to go and to carry the message of the gospel all the time. Why? There's different reasons. But mainly it comes down to fear. It comes down to fear. It might be a pretty selfishly motivated fear, right? That we're afraid that if we follow through in that responsibility to go and do that work God's called us to do, that we're gonna lose, we're gonna give up something of ourselves. I won't get to go and go hunting as much, or I won't get to go and go party as much, or I won't get to, whatever that thing is, that pleasure, that thing that you give up. So maybe very selfishly motivated. It may be that you just are terrified because you don't feel up to the task. I can't do that. I can't be a dad. If you knew me, you know, right? I can't go on with this next stage of my school. I can't do it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I can't be the person, even though I'm the only one in our office really who is a Christian. Even though I'm the only one, I can't be the one to step up and to say something. I can't be the one when my coworker is having a difficult time to say, you need Jesus. I'm scared of that. I'm scared of what the others will think of me. I'm scared of how that will make me, others will perceive me in the office. I'm scared. But God's given each of us in differing ways. He's given us roles to play, and with those roles come responsibilities. They are real, They are serious, but here's the other part. They're good because good things come from them. In fact, in Ephesians, God says that we are His workmanship, that He's been working on us, right? That we are His workmanship, and He has created good works for us to do in advance, right? Like in advance of our salvation, in advance of today, He's already created good things for you to do out into the future. Why did God save you, right? Right? Now, it's not just, you didn't just earn a ticket to heaven, right? God has awesome plans and purposes for your life. He's got good things in store for you. When you held your child for the first time, right, weren't you full of hope and anticipation? Not just the fear, but also hope and anticipation of good things. Even though it's hard work to get up all night and to feed babies and to change babies and to raise them up. All that's hard, but aren't the rewards so much better, right? Don't they outweigh it? God has good stuff for you to do. And if you're just feeling like, yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy this ticket to heaven I got, right? And let's leave the work and the responsibility to other folks. I'm just too scared to put myself out there. I'm too scared of what I got to give up. And God says, you're not giving up anything. You're getting so much more. The rewards far outweigh anything you would give up. The rewards far outweigh any work that we have to do to get there. Jesus tells a story. I think it's one I've shared with you before, but it's good, and it's one that all of us should maybe commit to memory. He tells a story of a master, someone who has a lot of money with businesses and a big household, and he's going to go on a journey. And so he calls 3 of his servants to come before him, and he says, here, while I'm gone, I want you to put my money to work. And so he gives one of the servants, he gives him 5 bags of gold, and he says, here, you take this, you put it to work while I'm gone. He brings another one before him, and he gives him 2 bags of gold. And he says, here, you take this and put it to work while I'm gone. And brings another, and he gives him 1 bag of gold. And so then he goes on his journey. And when he comes back, he finds different results for each of the people. While he was gone, the first guy, the one who received 5 bags of gold, he went and he started putting that money to work right away. I don't know exactly what he did. He bought low and sold high. I don't know. But he put the money to work. And when the master came back, he had made double the money back. He had made 10 bags of gold. All right. Second guy, the same thing. He went right away to putting the money to work, and he doubled that money, made 4 bags of gold. Now, the third guy, what he did was he took that money and he looked at it and he said, man, this is not my money. This is my master's money. I'm not losing a dime of this. I'm not about to go out there investing this thing in something that could fail. And so he goes home, he digs a hole in the ground, and he puts that money in a hole in the ground and covers it up, and he goes, whew, safe. And the master returns and he calls the 3 men before him, and the first comes in and he says, here, master, you gave me 5, here's 10. And the master goes, well done. Well done, good and faithful servant. Well done, good job. You come, you enjoy your master's happiness. The second guy comes in the same way. He's given 2, but he brings back 4, and he says, here you go. The master says, well done, good job. The last guy comes in, he's still dusting the dirt off of his bag because he just dug it up out of the ground. He says, here's your money, just like you gave it to me. And the master says, you wicked and lazy servant. That's hard. I'm like, Jesus said some hard stuff. I said, you wicked and lazy servant. At least you could have done was take it to the bank so I could have made the interest off of it. But you did nothing. Why? Out of fear. Out of fear. He buried it in the ground out of fear. He didn't take advantage of what God had given him, what the master had given him out of fear. Each of you, each of us in this room have been given awesome gifts, awesome responsibilities, awesome roles to play. And from those, incredible things can be gained. I see it happen here all the time. People come in and they bring somebody with them to church, a family member or a coworker or a neighbor or a friend. They bring them to it and the person comes to faith and their life is changed. And I'm thinking, man, for that awkward moment they had to step through where they go, you know what, I really think you'd be helped to come to church. Where you thought, maybe it's not my business, or maybe they'll think I'm weird, or maybe, but you step through that awkward moment and they go, you know what, I do need that. Doesn't that happen like that? How often does somebody go, get away from me with all that church stuff? Listen, that's what you're afraid of, but it really doesn't happen that much. It happens sometimes. It does. It's happened to me. All right? But most of the time, they'll just go, oh, you're sweet to ask. Yeah, we'll come someday down the line. They're lying. All right? Or they go, because the time is right, because God is working, they go, I think I need that. I think I need that. And they come and their life is changed, right? And isn't that reward worth that awkward moment, just stepping through that awkward moment? I was afraid. And you go, man, what was I afraid of? What was I afraid of? We see in this story a few things that not everybody has the same role to play. They were all given different amounts of money, but it doesn't make them less important, all right? People are given different roles to play. Some of you have many, many roles to play. Some of you just have just a few, but everybody has some. And everybody has a sphere of influence. Everybody has things that they're responsible for. And we don't, out of fear, sit on those or not do what God's called us to do, but we go to work, and that's what happens. You see there, what it takes is work. There's work to be done. Sometimes it's just the work that scares us because we're like the servant there. We're just lazy, right? We use our fear as an excuse for laziness or the other way around. And we miss out on the good things. We miss out on what Jesus said there. He said, the master said, good job. You know what happened at the end of the story? He said, take that bag of gold from the guy who buried it in the ground. Take that one and give it to the guy with 10. He said, because those who have will be given all the more. God will reward you. God, the blessings that come. There'll be work along the way. There's tough things that may be very scary to you, but they're going to be so worth your while. So don't shy away. Don't shy away from what God's given you to do. In my own life, throughout the years, there have been moments where I was scared. And you think the most crucial ones, as far as spiritual things, are when I'm in a conversation with somebody, and usually it's a man. Right? Because men, we got to be a certain way around men, Got to be manly. And but I'll be talking to a guy, and he's talking about something going on in his life, and the guard will come down a little bit, and he'll start to talk about his family or his job. And you see it open up a little bit. And I have, as a pastor, I have wanted, out of fear, not to make that moment awkward. Awkward for that guy, awkward for me. Because like I told you before, anytime you say Jesus, the conversation changes, doesn't it? It gets real. I've had moments where I've let that moment go. I regret every one. But I have so many of those moments where they just walk through that awkwardness. And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm going, you dummy, you're the pastor. He's expecting you to say something about Jesus. But I only come in contact with so many people. Your lives touch so many more, right? Us as a church have the ability to touch so many lives and to say in that scary moment, Jesus is the answer. You need Jesus. Come to church with me. I want to introduce you to Jesus. Let me tell you about Jesus. Let me tell you what Jesus has done for me. And you walk, just take that step across that awkward moment, and good things happen. Let me pray for you.